In this video, we will show how to use the 2D crossplot panel in Geoscience ANALYST. To do that, we will use some outcrop samples with geochemical data. The first step is to go to the Panels menu, 2D crossplot. The 2D crossplot should appear here in your interface. You can just rearrange it to make more space for it. Next, you can select your object and the X and Y axis properties. For X, I'll choose zirconium, and for Y, titanium oxide. And now you should be able to see this scatter plot of titanium oxide versus zirconium. If you hover over any of these points, you'll be able to see a little box that reports the values of that sample. Now just note that if you were to select a reference property for your x-axis, like a geology code, then it'll create a box plot. And similarly, if you hover over it, it's going to give you information about that sample, like the lithology code, and for titanium oxide, the minimum, maximum, medium, and first and third quantiles. For the rest of this example, I'll go back to zirconium. You'll note that the ranges for both the X and Y axis are set to automatic range. These correspond to the minimum and the maximum of your data. However, you can left click and use your mouse wheel to pan and zoom into areas of interest in the crossplot. You can also specify a range and toggle between a linear or a simlog scale. Next, I will color by property. Here I'll color by iron oxide. You'll be able to see your points in your scatter plot painted by iron oxide, and this is linked to its data color settings. So if we select this in 3D and open this data colors panel, then you'll see that if you change the color table, let's say to this one, those changes will be reflected in the crossplot as well. In this case, I'll change the maximum range, and you'll see that updated. This also applies to the filters. For example, if you only want to see samples that have iron oxide higher than 15, then I will only be seeing those in 3D and in the 2D crossplot panel. The 2D crossplot panel is also linked to the 3D view. If you click on Data Selection, you can select a number of points, and you will see those highlighted in yellow here in the crossplot, in the viewport, in the table, and in the data colors panel. So everything is linked together, and it goes both ways. For example, if I were to area select data using Shift and left click in 3D, those points will also be highlighted in the 2D crossplot. You also have statistics, for example, the number of samples that have both zirconium and titanium oxide with their correlation coefficient, linear regression slopes, and intercepts. You're also able to see these regression lines and even make your own custom one. With Geoscience ANALYST Pro, you can also visualize masking properties in your 2D crossplot panel. For example here, I'm going to select these points with high zirconium and low titanium oxide. Then I'll right click on my object, create masking property. For creation method, I'll choose selected indices, and I will call this high zirconium, low titanium oxide, and click OK. The masking property has been created. I can visualize it in 3D. You'll see that this is a binary property where everything that I had selected in the crossplot is red, it's true, and everything else that was not selected is false. And I can select this masking property. Now I'm only seeing the samples. And we have 55 samples that I had selected, and they have the following statistics. In this way, the 2D crossplot panel in Geoscience Analyst allows you to analyze your data in both a graphical and a 3D space. For this example, you can evaluate whether the high zirconium, low titanium oxide zone relates to any 3D features like your geological map or results from a magnetic inversion. For more tips and tutorials, subscribe to our YouTube channel.